Alright, so when you are working on drawing your hair, you're going to go to the page where you need to draw just a couple of skull shapes, so just a circle with a jaw, chin line attached to that. Then if you want to, you can also include your guidelines so you can kind of see where everything will be. You don't actually have to draw your eyes, nose, and mouth in, but then you just kind of know where things are, where your ears are, and that kind of guides you in where your hair should be. Alright? And the most important thing to do when you start out drawing your hair is to draw it as a shape. Okay? A lot of us start out drawing hair as little hair lines like this, or girls, you might draw kind of curls going down like this, just one line at a time. That is not what we want to do. We want to draw our hair as a shape first, and then you can go back in and draw some individual hair strands and some more details. But remember, this is a cartoon style, so we don't want to do too many details. We want to start out with a simple shape, and then we can go back in and add more if we have time. Before you even start drawing, you may want to take a look at yourself in the camera of your iPad to see where your hairline is, and that your hairline is the basic shape that kind of frames your face and how your hair grows. So I would take a look at where your hairline is in accordance to your eyes and your ears and even your eyebrows. And when you're practicing these, you don't have to draw these things in, but when you look at yourself, notice how close your hair is to your eyebrows. Notice how close your hair is to your ears as well. And when I start drawing, if I have a part, that's where I would start. So your part is kind of the line that decides which way your hair is growing. So if you have a part to the side, your hair starts on one side of the part, your hair will grow this way. The other side of your part, the hair grows the other way. And so normally your hair is never just sitting on top of your skull, like this line that you have here. Your hair is never just sitting on top of it, and it's usually both above and below that skull line. So your bangs, if you have bangs, will kind of come in front of that. They might start to grow one way, and we're just going to draw the outline of this shape. So maybe your hair goes in front of your ears. So you would start to draw the shape that your hair makes. Also kind of consider how long your hair is as to where your shoulders are. So this is another thing you could look at in the mirror. If your hair goes a little bit past your shoulders, then you would draw it a little past your shoulders. And then if it's straight, you would draw kind of a straight line. If it was wavy, you might draw more of a wavy line. And then bring that shape back up. And notice how I'm drawing it a little bit above the skull line. I give it a bit of a wave at the top here, just so you don't have that just round, circular looking thing, because your hair has a little more body and a little more shape. So here's the shape of one side of my hair. Then I would kind of come over to the other side and do the same thing. We're getting the length correct and then bringing it back around. And notice how I covered up my ears, so later when I go back and erase, I would erase my ears if my hair covers that up. Also remember that your hair goes behind you too. It's not just coming off the top and coming in front of you. Your hair is behind you here. So when you go back in later and you add a few strands of hair, make sure you, or if you add hair color, make sure you add that behind your neck too. Your hair grows behind your neck. So once you have this basic shape in, you could then add a few strands of hair just to show the direction that it grows in. So you might just add a couple strands of hair going down this way, and even at your ends, that might be a good place to add some extra strands of hair just to show that your hair is not perfectly straight at the bottom. So just adding in a few strands of hair to make some details. So you start with that basic shape, making sure you go above and below your skull line, sometimes in front of your ears with your hair, and then in front of and behind your shoulders and your neck with your hair. So say you oftentimes have your hair up. Here's another example of a hairstyle that you could try out. So again, you want to kind of think about where your hair is in accordance to your eyes and your eyebrows. You don't have to draw these things in when you're practicing, but just kind of think of your guidelines and where things are on your face. So maybe you normally kind of have your hair pulled back into a ponytail. So again, you're looking at your hairline, seeing where your hair lands. So maybe you kind of have the straight across front part of your hair, and then usually even when you have your hair pulled up into a ponytail, you have some hair that goes in front of your ears, so you would kind of draw in how your hair lies in front of your ears. Again, take a look at yourself, see what your own hair does. And then still remember, your hair is on the back side of your head, it's behind your ears, it's back here too. So you might draw in kind of some waves so that it's not this perfect round shape. Again, even when your hair is up, if you have a part, you could add a part in as well. If you normally have a hair clip or something like that, you could do that. Now, if your hair is in a ponytail that goes straight behind your head, you might draw this kind of cylinder shape for a ponytail and then let your hair kind of fall there. But if you want to show more of your ponytail, you could maybe have it go to the side just a touch more so that you can see more of your hair. So you would put your cylinder for your ponytail over and then have your hair kind of falling down over the side of your head. Now again, kind of think of how long your hair is to go with your shoulders. And if you have curls to your hair, you could have your ponytail be wavy. But again, start out just drawing this as a shape. Don't draw any individual strands right away. Start out, so this is my ponytail shape. This is my the top of my head shape. Then if you want to, you can add in a couple extra strands to show the direction that your ponytail is flowing, the way that your hair is growing in. So you could just do it where you have just a tiny bit of hair, your ponytail showing on the back, or if you wanted it to go to the side, you could do that. I know in your book there's an example to show you how to make this part of your ponytail look like a braid, so you could look at that in your workbook too. No matter what hairstyle you have, you should always start with that basic shape of the outline of your hair, your hairline. So always looking at where your hair hits. Now, maybe you have braids. If you have braids, you still have a hairline, so you would just see where your braids all start and end and make that line to start with. So normally you still have some hair in front of your ears. You have it going to a certain point above your eyebrows. Start with that hairline, and then if you do have braids or some kind of design going on in your hair, maybe you have your hair half up, you would draw in where those parts are. So your braids, each braid there's a part in between them. So you would start out by drawing them as rows, and normally they're pretty close together. And they change direction. They kind of go, your head is round, so they kind of go with the curve of your head. So make sure you're turning the direction of these oval or cylinder shapes that you draw in, and they kind of go with the hairline and they turn as you go around your head. Okay? And then what you could go and do is just instead of having this perfect outline, you would go and kind of draw in these individual rows, and they don't have to be perfect cylinders either, so you might kind of make them wavy to make it look more like, and just make sure you kind of get rid of that that round shape at the top of your head, because if you have braids or other kind of design in your hair, it's not going to be a perfectly round shape, so make sure that you do that. And so once you have kind of each row or braid drawn in as a shape, then you would go back in and you can add details, you can add color. So you might kind of just add like a crisscross design to make some texture in there. So I kind of made my face shape a little bit bigger so that you can see this texture that you might draw in. I wouldn't go too far into detail because it could take a long time to draw. Hair is a difficult thing to draw in detail, so I would go ahead and just add a few texture lines in each strand. And then once you have done that, if you can see any of your hair coming down the side, I would again look at where your hair lies with your shoulders. So if you have some coming behind, you would draw in those individual shapes for the strands or the rows of braids if you have rows. And then If they go in front of your shoulder, you could draw them in front of your shoulder, but always keep in mind that your hair goes behind your head, behind your shoulders. Some of it might go in front of your shoulders, some might go behind. But again, draw them as shapes to start. And then after you've drawn those shapes in, you could go back and add in a few details and maybe add some color to go along with it. So always drawing our hair as a shape. Then go into your workbook on this page, draw a couple of faces in proportion, and practice drawing your hair. And as soon as you are happy with your practice drawing of your hair on this page, you may then go ahead and go to your final self-portrait drawing and draw your hair there. Make sure you're drawing lightly, taking your time and doing your best.